Good afternoon, everyone. We'll call the meeting to order. It's been a while. The last meeting was October.
It was.
And I wasn't even there. So it's been a while.
You better
Good
dust off the rust.
Yeah, well, okay. Let's start with roll call.
All right, Tom Dester.
Here.
Scott Holwick.
Here.
Roger Lang.
Here.
Renee Davis.
Here.
Dan Wolford.
Here.
Wes Lowry.
Here.
Kevin Bowden.
Here.
Alex Merkline.
Here.
Joe Mahalski.
Here.
Chris Huffer.
Here.
Holly Valenta. Here. Heather McIntyre is here, and Lauren Harding is with us, and Councilmember Christ.
Where's she? Oh, there she is. Hi, Diane.
Oh, he's here too.
And Nicole.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
You have a quorum.
All right. Approval of previous month's minutes. Any comments or questions? I've got a question, though. We had a water finance update
Yes.
in October. Did they talk about water rates for this year?
Yes.
Did it go into effect 1st of January?
Yes.
Any idea how much it was, increase-wise?
It's on the website. I don't know offhand what it is, do you?
Okay, I don't.
Chris-
It was an additional 9.8%, I think.
How much?
9.8%.
9.8. Less than 10.
I'm not gonna ask why. We'll get into that maybe another time. Okay, thank you. All right. Well, let's, no comments or questions. How about a motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
All right?
The two of us.
Just as quick as ever, you know. All right, let's vote. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? No, okay. Minutes approved. Kevin, can you give us a water status report?
Sure. Flow at St. Vrain Creek at Lyons this morning was 8.7 CFS. 125-year historic average is approximately 14 CFS. Currently, the call on the St. Vrain Creek is Highland Ditch, and that's a priority date of 1881. The call on the South Platte is the Pruitt Canal with an admin number. You don't need to know that. With a priority date of 2004. Ralph Price Reservoir at Button Rock is currently at 6,387 feet in elevation, approximately 13,495 acre feet in storage, which is about 83% of full. Union Reservoir is a gauge height at 21 feet, or approximately 8,147 acre feet, which is down approximately 3,355 acre feet, or 63% of full. Basin reservoirs at the end of December were approximately 62% of full. Last year at this time, reservoirs were at 59% of full. So kind of in the same place as we were last year, but just not getting the snowpack up there right now.
And I also wanted to provide a little bit more of an update. The snowpack is not great for this time of year. It's one of the worst years we've had in recorded history, unfortunately. Boulder County currently sits in a moderate drought according to the National Integrated Drought Information System. Reservoir storage, Union Reservoir, we're currently around 60% of a 30-year median. That's kind of impacted from us not being able to fill as much as we would have liked to last year due to the inlet construction. Ralph Price Reservoir, thankfully, is closer to 90% of the 30-year median. Carter Lake, which stores some CBT supplemental, is 130% of median, so that should help us a lot going into the summer if, snowpack continues to look not as good. Speaking of the snowpack, in your packets, I included there's a memo that's included with a couple of links to the current drought conditions in the basin, as well as links to snowpack that you can look at. Unfortunately, St. Vrain Basin doesn't have the greatest data available this season. I've been in contact with NRCS trying to get a better idea of what our snowpack is really kind of like with their field surveys and such like that. Currently, online it shows we're 41% of a 30-year median in snowpack, but there's 2 sites in the St. Vrain Basin, one which is Copeland Lake showing 16% of median, whereas Wild Basin is close to 51%. So there's a high variability in the data there, unfortunately, and currently we don't have the January snowpack report, so hopefully this recent snowstorm helped us out a bit. Unfortunately, I don't think it will get us anywhere close back to normalcy, but we can hope. But yeah, so as we go into the future, coming into the rest of the year, we'll stay abundantly aware of what's going on in our basin and do our best to manage our water supply to as best as we can.
Meteorologist Danielle Grant joins us.
What's your thinking about watering restrictions?
Well, we are going to be looking at our water shortage and supply plan here in the coming months, and really kind of evaluate whether or not those are needing to be put into place. As of now, I would imagine at the very least we'll go to a mild, which is voluntary restrictions, but we'll have to do some more evaluating to see what we plan to implement.
And the timing on making those decisions, what, spring? Something?
Yeah, typically we bring the report to the study to the board in April, and I believe within a month or two it'll be put onto council. I don't know whether or not council will pull that to hear anything about our report, but if we implement any of those kind of restrictions, I'm sure they would want to.
Okay.
And it's based off of, a lot of the times it's based off of, future projections in terms of when we anticipate Button Rock to fill. As with every year, we typically anticipate Button Rock will always fill by the middle of July. But again, that's something we'll have to evaluate based on current conditions.
Question for Kevin and or Alex?
Yeah, I do have a question. So the link that you sent, I studied that decently because I was out of interest. And but you're saying that the data that was there is really not super reliable because it's too variable and based on just a couple of sites.
Yeah, and I don't know, because when you look at the St. Vrain snow water equivalent graph, you can see
that was the one.
It goes up and down and up and down. And
I guess I figured that maybe that was because of snowfall that melted rapidly.
yeah,
Right.
I don't
Maybe not.
think that's what occurred
Okay.
there. I think there might be inaccuracies in terms of the snow tell sites that were up there. I think they
Got it.
take those measurements based off of snow pillows, and I think they only go up to those sites once a month. So I don't know that it may be updated come February when they release that report, but
Okay.
that's not typically how those graphs react.
Right. I've never seen one that looked like that before,
Yeah.
but I was like, well, it was 60 degrees in January.
Yeah,
So maybe,
yeah.
But, okay.
And you're also measuring 2 inches snowpack, so it's really
Right.
it's very, very
Strange. Yeah.
So I wanted to add too that the water commissioner is going to start joining us next month. They used to come to water board fairly regularly, but it's been a long time since they had. So I've spoke with her, and she's going to plan to start coming. She did let me know that even though the NRCS St. Vrain estimate wasn't available, her calculation showed the St. Vrain around 62%, which is pretty consistent with where the South Platte and just coincidentally the Upper Colorado. Her estimate, like sometimes water resource staff, even though we have snow sites that aren't in our basin, they might be somewhat representative of snow at different elevations. And so she uses Bear, Lake Eldora, Niwot, and University Camp, which is probably not completely terrible. They're all in the mid to 9,000 to low 10,000 foot range. But she did also let me know that she's not spoken with any water users directly other than Highland and Rough and Ready, and based on current conditions, her and other water commissioners are monitoring closely, preparing for continued low flow conditions. While everyone is hopeful for improved conditions, they're proceeding with administration planning for below average flows. And so we're having some conversations with the state about being able to record those low flows. We have some different water rights that in order for us to take use of those, we've got to be able to measure those. So this year we're going to be working real close with the state and everybody, because there's not going to be a lot available. But the main message I wanted to say is you're going to start seeing Shara. She'll probably be attending remotely to start. Logistically, it's kind of hard for her to come from Greeley for a short period of time, but you'll see her on the 23rd.
It's Sherry who.
Shara Summerford is the District 5 Water Commissioner.
And who's she employed by?
State of Colorado.
State?
She's the Water Commissioner for our river.
Okay.
Yeah. And we have a long-term relationship. I've worked with her now for over a decade.
Oh,
She's around about 15 years.
Yeah.
okay. Well, good. Probably good information from her.
Yeah.
Do we have any public invited to be heard?
No public.
Any agenda revisions or sufficient documents?
I have none.
Nothing. Development activity looks a little sparse.
Yeah, well, I'll be bringing a few for informational items in March. There's been a few things that have been working in the background, but there might be one annexation coming up, but for this month, nothing.
Okay. Very good. Okay. Unless you want to talk about posting places.
Yes. So every year at this time, all boards and commissions need to designate a posting place for their meetings. And so for the last 5 years, Water Board has kind of followed the City Attorney Office recommendations to designate the public portal on the city's website as the primary location of its official posting place for monthly meetings, and the bulletin board at the Civic Center's west entrance as a backup in case of an emergency like a power outage or the internet goes down. And so staff would recommend that you do the same. So we'd be just looking for a recommendation from you as to where you want to designate the official posting place.
And the choices are just, stay with what we've got.
Stay with what you
Basically.
got, which would be the primary would be on the city's website with the backup here at this building.
Okay.
Civic Center.
Or Civic Center, sorry. Civic Center.
Somebody want to make a recommendation?
I move to accept and approve staff's recommendation for primary and backup posting for our business this calendar year.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Opposed?
Okay, thank you.
All right. We're on to Union Reservoir Land Acquisition Program, so is that yours too, Wes?
Yes. So it's been a while since we've come to the Water Board with a land acquisition. Some of you that might have been here back in 2021, 22 would recall we did the Keltner acquisition, which was west of Union. The piece of property that we're looking at for this one is actually north of Union Reservoir. It's a, and I'll remind, so we're talking about parcel W there. So the goal of the city has been to preserve property on Longmont's boundary and for the need for the ultimate enlargement of Union Reservoir. So for the last close to, I guess, about 30 years, as willing sellers have approached Longmont for their property to be available for purchase, Longmont's evaluated each one on a case-by-case. The reason, like I said, was to preserve the ability to enlarge Union in the future should that occur. Many of these properties, if Longmont were not to react to purchase, then they could be further subdivided or developed, which would create problems. The the property W there's one residential unit on the structure. There's a couple different little outbuildings. It's about a little over 9 acres. We are looking. We've already done did a letter of intent to purchase at the end of last year. Some of the things that we're still needing to do, we'll need to do an Alta survey. We're going to be doing a appraisal, home inspection, phase 1 environmental assessment, all the things that we would normally do when we're looking to acquire a piece of property. The owner would like to close around April of this year, which we think is doable. They would like to have the option of about a 3-month lease back. What that gives them is 3 months basically to, if it closes, to get everything out of their current house and to the new place that they're going to be moving into. The estimated purchase for that is somewhere around $1 million to $1.1 million. The city is programmed for that purchase. We have money available for that purchase. I'm just here to answer any questions. What we're looking for, though, is just a recommendation to continue to work with the landowner in for the acquisition of this property. We'll keep moving forward. We'll be taking it to City Council sometime in the future for their consent to purchase, but it makes a lot of sense. You can see up on the up there, you got several hashed areas: A, B, U, T, the small ones, AA, BB, CC. There's quite a few that are left to be purchased. A bulk of those by one particular family, but ultimately, in order to enlarge, we would need to acquire all those properties. So this is just.
Let me, Heather, could you move it down a little bit so we can see the other way?
Oh.
See what those, right, okay, Mocken City property, okay.
Yeah. So
we do have a fair amount there, don't we?
We do. We've acquired. We started really on the west side early on with some of the land acquisitions, and then we ended up getting quite a few. I'm sorry, the east side. Then we got quite a few on the west side. Got a few here and there on the north side, and it's just as they've been coming along. And so parcels J and K are owned by the same landowner, and I is a different one. But you're really down to. I'd call it a handful of owners of all the parcels remaining out there that would be ready for the ultimate enlargement. So,
You know, not that I'm against purchase, but as far as the enlargement of Union Reservoir, what would be our reasoning to enlarge it?
to meet demands, water demands at the ultimate sunset horizon of Longmont.
Questions for Wes on this? Yeah, Dan?
Long term, or interim, I should say, what's your intent on the 10 acres?
So I suppose we would treat it like some of the other properties that we purchased, where we've had an agricultural lease. It depends on a lot of factors. A parcel that's less than 10 acres, it's not like a lot of people are beating down the door to try to irrigate 9 acres when a good portion of it includes their house and other area. Water Fund owns, as just by the very nature of acquiring different properties, have bought these properties. We're really not. I don't think we're really wanting to be in the real estate business of managing these. They're a lot of work, so that's yet to be determined what would happen with the house. But what we've done in the past is we've used a rental company that's managed them for us on our behalf. If you were to look at the high-rise option, if we raised it to its maximum extent, the line would probably come about halfway between the W and and the top of the parcel. So it takes the greater part of this property for the ultimate high-rise option for Union. So, but there would be an area at the far north end of that the house could be relocated and could be subdivided and sold back off. It wouldn't be needed for the water enlargement, but
Yeah. Just curious, again, knowing that affordable housing and some of the other city-owned houses around there, the history of that, if that's been a consideration, for the interim as a revenue stream for water, or, thoughts of, again, it sounds like you haven't considered the possibility of a demo or any of that kind of, yet.
yeah, I think we've talked about it internally about how that, there might be a part of affordable housing. Some of these houses there's a few that we own that probably you don't, if you drove past, you wouldn't think affordable housing. They're just,
The Bogart house.
yeah, some of them are pretty nice.
Yeah.
But again, I don't think Water Resource really wants to be in the business of managing these properties. So I think we're open to having those internal discussions, and I think we will have those eventually. We'll just have to see. Time will tell.
I guess my question kind of somewhat relates in a way. I just am curious about the other property owners. Have they shown, interest or something, and eventually, if needed, selling to the city, or do we wind up with all but one and not able to enlarge the reservoir anyway? And then we're kind of just in the property management business.
Yeah, you're kind of, I'd say the parcels that were, the ones that were most interested in selling have.
Okay.
This is the first property owner that's came to us since 2022. So they're not beating down the door. The majority of the land that's owned on the north side of Union Reservoir is part of a dairy operation. And it's a generational operation. So I don't think they're planning to change what they're doing anytime soon. We haven't been, basically, you say, going out and courting property owners, but we've definitely had conversations, and they're all well aware that if the time comes, for any reason they think they want to sell, we would like to have an opportunity to have that opportunity. If there was going to be, you can just tell by the size, those small 3 homes on the north east corner, AA, BB, and CC, those are houses there, and those would probably be a little bit of a challenge, because that's where they live, and but they would need to be. You can only imagine if you enlarge that those homes would be inundated with an enlargement. So I would think those might be also more challenging. But again, we're down to a few. When we started this, there was over 24, I think, back in about 1990 when I started working on it.
Other questions?
Can I follow up on part of
Oh,
what
of
you
course,
said?
yeah.
You asked if we didn't get all of them, we'd be stuck with properties that we can't enlarge. If there were an enlargement, if there was a necessity for enlargement, we would go to condemnation if we couldn't work through purchase with any of those property owners at the time.
Curious about that. Yeah.
And that kind of goes back to the first question about when do we need union, and it's not immediately. The city doesn't have a need for storage at this point in time,
Yeah.
but ultimately we would like to have union enlarged and also have the pump back possibility so that we can utilize more of our water rights for irrigation as well as for ultimately for municipal use. So.
Yeah. Okay, great, thanks.
Any other questions? Is there a motion to recommend acquisition of this property? Dan?
I'll move staff's recommendation to acquire this property.
Second.
Second by Tom. All in favor? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Thanks, Wes.
Appreciate it.
Okay, Alex.
Yeah, so in October 2025 at the Water Board meeting, staff brought forward the proposed 2026 legislative guiding water principles to the board for discussion and recommendation. At the time, Board Member Davis raised concern about the potential legislative efforts to limit municipal financing and funding sources based on legislative action in the last session. So the original proposition by the board was for a new principle identifying a need to protect municipal financing and funding sources given potential impacts from legislative efforts. And so, as you can see in your packet, we've added a new principle 22. The existing principle 21 already included some language regarding opposing state legislation, which was taken out and now folded into the new principle 22 with the addition of opposing legislation which would limit municipal funding and financing sources. So now we're bringing these principles back to the board for continued discussion and any recommendation that the board might have for approving these for the 2026 legislative year.
Questions? Yeah, Dan.
I have no problem with the modifications here with this language. I would like to maybe add another principle, if you would, and it might fit somewhere between 4 and 5, and I've written some language here that states to encourage and support the concepts, considerations, and partnerships for in-stream flows that provide further support of environmental and social enhancements for the community. So it's really, I know city staff is currently engaging in some discussions of in-stream flows, which are more keeping water in the river for environmental purposes, to consider and encourage participation in that program.
Okay, well, why don't we start with the first order of business that's on the board. Is there a motion to move this forward?
I can move to approve or recommend that we move that forward.
Second. All in favor?
Wait, who's the second?
Dan raises his hand.
Oh,
It's very silently.
He doesn't talk. a
Silent
lot.
second.
He's a good waver, so. Okay, move to second. All in favor? You have to say
Aye.
Aye.
opposed. Okay, how about Dan's proposal?
Can I propose
Tell
it?
us about that.
Would Dan be able to maybe email his proposed language and to Heather and put it up on the board? Is that something that you could do, Dan?
Absolutely.
Okay, like maybe now, I guess.
Okay, let's see how we do that.
Someday.
I didn't know if you had access to your email.
I just included it in the PDF,
okay.
and then saved it here. But again, the way I've written it is to encourage and support the concepts and considerations, as well as partnerships for in-stream flows that provide further support for environmental and social enhancements within the community.
Thoughts? Yeah, Kevin, you got a thought?
Me? No.
Oh, okay. So your eyes light up down there, so.
I'll
Yeah.
ask staff,
Yeah.
because I'm not familiar with any conversations staff is internally having about in-stream flow protection, what their reaction or concern or support would be for a concept like that, because I just don't know I don't know what I don't know. So, in-stream flows have people have a lot of opinions about those, they're galvanizing, so I thought I would
Yeah.
survey staff.
Yeah, I think in-stream flows make a lot of sense for a lot of reasons, and they also impact municipal uses. So in other words, sometimes they can make it more difficult for certain uses.
Paving.
Meaning if you keep it in the stream, you're not pulling it out and using it at a water treatment plant, just kind of generically speaking. And so I think it would be something that we're definitely paying attention to any in-stream flow filings through the monthly court resume and having those conversations with our water council. I don't know that I have an opinion one way or the other, because it's a little bit like saying, which of your two kids do you like more? And it's hard to be able to answer that. Is both bring value? So it might be something that we could, if the board wanted to take Dan's suggestion and think it over, we likewise could do the same and kind of get some, I just call it maybe legal considerations that could be brought to the table as part of doing something like that.
I was going to mention that as I read through the principles, in-stream flow is kind of a trigger for me because I've worked on some of those issues in the past. And 16, I think if we scroll up to 16, has some consideration for in-stream flow. I remember seeing it somewhere, and so I looked back through real quick.
Yeah, there's in there.
And I don't know that it strikes exactly to the heart of what you're trying to get towards there, Dan, but maybe a word or two could be added somewhere within 16 that could to maybe limit any kind of redundancy or issues.
Any other comments?
I'll make one. So in-stream flow rights can be a valuable tool. They have appropriation dates associated with them, so we're looking at prospective water rights that would have at a minimum a 2026 appropriation date, and they are administered as such. So all of the city's existing water rights are senior to any prospective 2026 or later in-stream flow right. Just as an observation, I mean, there's a number of in-stream flow rights in our basin currently. It would be probably interesting for everybody to see what that looks like, and I know CBCB has a map of that. We could probably show that if we look at this in any depth at any particular time. There's a lot of them out there. Most of them are 1980s vintage, but there's a bunch of them up in the upper basin. The other piece I was going to ask is, when you evaluate those that are in the resume with council, if you guys were animated about some particular application from the state, would you be likely to bring it to water board for our input? Or do you typically only rely on your executive team with water council to evaluate that? Because we haven't done one since I've been here.
Yeah.
They don't come up that often in this area, so I just thought I'd ask that question.
Yeah, the water court is the water rights that come through are a little bit, I guess, different than the legislature setting during their 4-month time that they're in, setting bills and laws related. That's what we've been bringing to water board as part of this. Yeah. We have, when we've had certain water court filings that we felt strongly about making an objection to, I think we would probably bring those to water board's attention so that they could be aware of what those are. I don't know that I can't say that we've brought all those in the past, because it depends upon the merits of what the decree is. That's kind of what our job is to be paying attention to some of those things and protecting the interest of the St. Vrain Basin. I think if there was, because there's numerous filings that come through, you know as well as I do, and I don't know if it would be. I don't know if our plan would change right now. I think if there was a right that came to our attention that we felt strongly about opposing, I think we would bring that to water board though. But beyond that, I don't really see doing that.
Well, and there's also a timing issue because you don't know about them, at least in the resume, until the beginning of the month. We have our board meeting and we've got a little bit of time to file that. Most of the in-stream flow rights, though, are already determined in advance and noticed them well in advance, so there's notice of them well before the resume publication goes out. But just curious, because it's been, we haven't talked about this in a long time, because there hasn't been anything in the basin really
You're
for a
right.
long time.
Well, and I know the city's participated in a voluntary in-stream flow program in the past, with a variety of folks, TU, Town Alliance, Boulder County. And I would say this could be that a similar voluntary I wasn't necessarily thinking
Yeah.
capital I, capital, you know,
Yep.
one that would be, you know, dedicated to the state to hold that water right, but, you know, a variety of, but again, I think it's worthy concept to consider in partnerships.
Well, is there opposition from the staff's position of looking at this and giving us some feedback on it? Or how do you feel about
What I
it?
recall is kind of like we were talking, I think when we were wrestling a little bit with that number 16 bullet point, I think we tried to, I think balance was put in quotations for a reason. When we talked about, you know, balance between what, I guess every decision we make has a pro and a con, and trying to find the balance is, so I feel, I guess what I'm saying is I think the board and staff has kind of wrestled with this a little bit in the past, and we kind of landed on, in my mind, kind of what Tom said, that number 16 is acknowledging that they have a place. And we're trying to find a balance of where that place is. To say that you're always going to go one way or the other, either support or oppose, that kind of pretty much locks you in. That's what you're saying. We're going to support it. And there may be a reason, I don't know, I'm not going to say one because I don't know what it'd be, but there may be a reason why it would be in Longmont's best interest not to support something with in-stream flows. And I think that's the balance. So I think it's all the way you word it. I'm not disagreeing with you that they're important. I think we do think that it's important to have flows in the river, but keeping them in the river has its consequences.
I would like to say that knowing that the legislative session has started and getting kind of approval for these 2026 things, and also hearing that in-stream flow is a big conversation.
Yeah.
And knowing that I like revenue, and at least protection of revenue, I would not want to see the principles that we've got in front of us drafted held up today.
They've already been approved.
They've already been approved, so we're good to go.
Yeah.
I'm quiet then. Quiet time for Renee. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, okay, if they've been approved, what we're talking about.
Is 27?
Is
Yeah,
potential
that,
for anyone
it's
like
down the
that.
road.
Or it would come back to us in
Yeah.
February, and we
Another
use that for the
discussion.
remainder of it. But yeah,
Okay.
it's a smaller window of
Mhm.
legislative.
SDCs. Protect the raw water requirement, cash in the.
And we could bring it as, and staff can commit to bring it in the future, at a future date, maybe having a larger conversation about in-stream flows and what they mean to Longmont in terms of municipal use and also in protecting the environment. Like you say, it's a big animal.
Yeah.
It's got a lot to it. And probably couldn't get it done before February. We got a lot else on the plate. But, maybe we can continue to have conversations. So as we're thinking about what we would really want to say for 2027, that might be more reasonable.
Yeah, I was going to suggest maybe a broader conversation as well. I remember, I think this was Allison's issue, wasn't it? At some point, Allison, I think, brought this up at multiple occasions about interest in stream flow and keeping some water in the river, and if we had, especially during periods of excess and things. And I know that St. Vrain Left Hand has some type of initiative going at the moment, I believe, related to in-stream flow. And I've contacted them to try to get involved somehow, but I haven't heard back initially, but not much since then. So just kind of like a broader kind of basin perspective about where in-stream flow, both capital I, capital F, as well as little I, little f,
Yeah.
fit into the overall kind of management of the river systems that we're talking about here. So,
Yeah, and we'll be, not to steal any thunder, but I think we're gonna have the district here in the next month or two coming and talking with water board. So that could be one of the points that we can encourage them to maybe talk about.
yeah.
But basically, this is probably next year's business if something changes.
I would suggest by the time, I don't think you'd probably come to any conclusion to be very helpful before they adjourn in May.
Yeah. It's all right with you, Dan?
Absolutely.
Where this is going?
And just to be clear too, if something comes through the legislation about in-stream flows, we'll probably pull that and bring that to your attention. We can have a conversation about what the legislation might speak to in-stream flows. You're kind of looking through them in different lenses. So what we're talking about here is legislative guiding water principles.
Can I ask a follow-up? Sorry. With them spot west. So there is a big in-stream flow issue going on in the state at the moment. And it's on the western slope. It's the Colorado River. It's the potential sale of the Shoshone water right from Excel to the Colorado River District and the CWCB, who has an interest in effectuating an in-stream flow there. There are Front Range entities that have a elevated concern about that particular water court case, which is now live in Division 5. And I didn't know if Longmont was participatory in anything on that, West or not. There are certainly entities on the Front Range that are filing statements of opposition in that case, even though it's on the west slope, because it potentially has the effect of modifying Colorado Big Thompson transfers and other mountain transfers as well. So I just didn't know if we had a position, and you can say yes or no, and we can just stop because it's a bigger issue than that. But
Longmont is not directly involved, but we are indirectly, mainly through our representatives in Northern Water. It's kind of taking our lead.
I just wasn't sure, so I thought I'd ask.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't want to put you on the spot too much.
That's fair, yeah.
Okay, is there opposition to Scott's suggestion? Give this a staff and go from there and see where, you all right with that, Dan?
I'm absolutely fine with that.
No opposition to that? Okay, well, why don't we do that then?
All right,
All right.
thanks.
Okay. Nothing else, Alex?
No, I guess not, other than, while we only just now approved the 2026 legislative principles, I had already, the session for the state legislature began on January 14th, so I had previously just, still been paying attention, but just operating off of the previous years. But now with these newly passed ones, I will start using those.
Okay.
And if you're interested, those links that were provided in last year are still active. We have a legislative page for the city of Longmont that you can see what any positions we are, and also the Colorado General Assembly link is there. So if you're not looking at it this afternoon, there really wasn't. There's only like a handful, and nothing that really was really brought. Made it maybe stop and really want to think, but a lot's going to be going on as the session goes on. So,
And in future water board meetings, I'll continue to bring forward any legislation that is, I think, important to the board.
Okay. Well, Dan's suggestion, we'll drop it off to you, Wesley.
yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Joe, you got something to share with us?
Yeah, so Holly and I are going to present on just some capital project updates. We haven't been here in a few months, and I know we've been here talking about some of those projects in the past, so just kind of want to provide an update. Holly's senior civil engineer. You've met her before, and she'll kind of kick off the presentation first, and I'll take it after her.
Okay.
Let's see, I'm scrolling. Do I need to click?
Yeah,
Is that how I go forward?
Yep.
Okay, great. I figured it out, thank you. I'm going to talk about the top 3 items, and then Joe's going to do the bottom 3. Usually I would not probably bring a leak to y'all because you're like, yeah, pipe leaked kind of thing. But the 3 projects that I'm going to talk about are up at Button Rock. So this is the Upper North St. Green pipeline. It's difficult to get to. I think you can tell if you're going from right to left. What happened is we had a very large boulder. Once we found out we had this really sizable leak on our pipeline, we found a decapitated tree. We found a 30-inch pipeline that had been pancaked, and then on the left side we have a very large boulder. The picture may not do it justice, but I assure you it is a very, very large boulder in order to take a 30-inch steel pipe and pancake it. And so that was one of the projects that we did this past fall, was repair this leak. And repairing the leak is perhaps not why I'm here, but the things that, the challenges in just repairing the leak, because it's remote infrastructure, it's difficult to get to at times. The aerial that you're seeing in the upper right-hand corner is the parking lot, the trailhead parking lot at Button Rock. It may be difficult to see, but across the top of this photograph is where the Upper North St. Green pipeline. It's just on a bench, basically in the middle of the trees. You see Longmont Dam Road there, and then let's see, yes, it works. In the middle, this is actually City of Longmont property. Historically, whenever this pipeline was built, I'm not sure exactly when, we'll just say 100 years ago, access was built between the creek and the pipeline. So that's a historical access path that's existing. As part of this leak, we had to establish an access from Longmont Dam Road across City of Longmont property, so that we could connect to the historical access path on the other side of the creek. So what does that path look like? We have a temporary culvert on the left, and then the path that we created is kind of more like a rural 2-track, kind of a farmer's track. Our goal is to work with Boulder County to create and construct actually a permanent culvert so that we can use this for emergency maintenance and repair going forward. And then our goal is to use this access and maintain it to meet stage 1 and stage 2 fire standards, so that we can get in there and use it anytime we need. The next project is
What was the size of that pipe?
It's a 30-inch steel pipe.
Pardon?
30-inch, 30. This is actually the same pipeline. It's just actually just downstream of the last leak, and so we'll be using that same access that I just talked about in order to repair this pipe. This was initially damaged as part of the 2013 flood. If you look at the left-hand side, that's what it looked like immediately after the 2013 flood. That vertical pipe, basically whenever you would have surges, water would come out of that pipe, and well, we all know what happened in 2013, and so a significant amount of water came out of that vertical pipe, washed away the hillside, and the vertical pipe was removed, patch welded over, and the right-hand side is what it looks like now. So great, we don't have to worry about continued washout, but we do have to worry about just the stability of the pipe because the cover is gone. And so the next project is to just replace the cover and just kind of prevent continued washout and erosion within this area. The final project, that is an upcoming project. This is also an upcoming project. Timber cribbing, so we'll talk about rock cribbing, timber cribbing. There's various different ways to stabilize the pipeline. Most of the places at Button Rock, you have a rock face, you have a 10 to 12 foot bench for the pipeline, and then you have another rock face. So it's really remote and difficult to get to. The timber cribbing, I think, was perhaps built in the 80s. And so it's just about time. It's just one of those things, like all infrastructure has its lifetime. It's about time for us to replace it. And so that's another project that's upcoming. And so whenever the 2013 washout and the timber cribbing are completed, we'll come back and give you a report. And then I'll turn it over to Joe.
All right, thanks, Holly. So again, we're just trying to give you an idea of some of the projects and some of the funding that we're spending and everything on keeping some of this infrastructure in working order. You're probably familiar with the 4-bay up at Nelson Flanders. We've talked about it before. I think the last time I had talked to you, though, we had not started construction, but we started in September of last year. And the contractor, we're hopefully going to be doing our substantial completion walk with the state tomorrow. Again, the 4-bay is important. It's 30 million gallons of storage for us, so it gives us some time if there was something to happen to the raw water sources to figure things out at the water treatment plant. It's about 1 day of storage during our peak summer usage, so it gives us some time. And then, 3 to 4 days this time of year without the peak. So right now we're using a 4-bay bypass pipeline to feed the plant. It's just a lot more operationally challenged operation using that, and all those sources just directly come into the plant. So it doesn't have time to settle any sediment that may be coming in with it or any other water quality concerns. This project was the real challenge because we really hadn't taken that 4-bay down since Flanders was put in operation in 2005, 2006. So again, I got to give some props to operations for running it as long as they have. This has been offline since May of last year, so and we're doing pretty well. Again, the reason for why we took it down originally because we were having algae issues. Because of the sediment, we had never cleaned it out, so algae was growing in there. So we took it down and noticed that a seep on the north side that was happening over several years stopped when we did that. We have yearly inspections performed by the state engineer's office. So even the state engineer, we thought it was just kind of a natural spring coming up over there because the land to the north is up higher. We were just figuring it was daylighting there because there's a tow drain around the bottom of the berm, and that should typically pick up any seepage through the berm of the 4-bay. So we obviously hired a consultant to figure out what was going on, how it was leaking, and what was discovered through wells and studies was the bedrock is really shallow on the north edge there, and there wasn't much separation between the existing clay liner and that bedrock. So it was getting through the riprap that we had and into the bedrock, kind of bypassing that tow drain that I was talking about. So I took a video during construction. This kind of shows some slush grouting is what it's called. So we exposed that bedrock where it's shallow, and we actually poured a flow grout to kind of fill in those cracks and cap that bedrock, along with building out the clay liner there. So we made that thicker, 2 to 3 feet thicker in these areas, but this was just kind of the underlayment. So you'll have to excuse, I'm not a professional photographer, so you're going to see my shadow if I can get this mouse to work.
It's touchy.
Oh no. Is there another way to do that? Can you hit page down or hit down or something? It should do it. Maybe go back up. Just hit the down arrow, maybe.
Try the down arrow. It goes to the next one.
All right.
Can you click in the middle of the video?
Very good.
Thanks. So there you can just see that grout area. That water is actually just groundwater. So again, we exposed all that to expose that bedrock. That's just laying on top of the bedrock. And then we can go to this next one. So this kind of shows the us building out that 2 to 3 foot clay liner on the north and west sides there. You can see them building that out just to get more separation from the bedrock. And then this last one is more of a current finished product where you'll see the new riprap and them just kind of cleaning up the site. So again, state engineers been out there weekly at all the progress meetings. They're happy with what we're doing, and we all feel pretty confident that this is going to solve the seepage issue. It's a $2 million project that was unplanned. So again, that's the cost of 4 or 5 months of moving dirt around out there and everything. But again, competitively bid. But those are the cost of that project. So we're hoping to put it back online maybe within the next week and a half, actually start filling it. So we're doing the substantial completion walk with the state engineer from the dam office tomorrow, and go to the next steps.
When you fill it, where's your source? Is it
So our typical sources. So this time of year, it's the North St. Vrain, Upper North St. Vrain, and also the Carter Lake pipeline. We could also fill from the Highland Ditch, but that's typically, we don't run that in the wintertime typically, but we could use that if we needed to, because we're on a tight timeline here of trying to get our storage in there. The Carter Lake connecting pipeline is coming offline for a week, end of February. So we were really trying to fill this before then. And we'll be pretty close, but we might have to just have the Highland Ditch on as a backup during that time.
okay?
Montgomery Tank, Scott left, but he's aware of this project because we're doing a ditch crossing and getting some agreements in place. But so this is the big project right now. We are at 100% design. This is with Boulder County and permitting right now. So out on North 53rd Street, up on your way to the treatment facility, Nelson Flanders treatment facility, and on the north side of Highway 66 out there near Lyons. You guys probably know that this tank is out there, fairly visible. Built in the 1960s, steel tank, corroding at the end of its useful life, so we need to replace it. So the design is to move it just to the northeast, as you can see over there on the right-hand side. So let me see so here's the existing tank. This would be the darker circle, would be the new tank. Existing tank stores, we call it the 6 million gallon tank, but because of just water levels and everything, we can really only store 4 million gallons in there. The new tank will be able to store 6.4 million gallons, so we're increasing capacity. We figured if we were digging a hole, we might as well get as much capacity out of it as we can. We're also running a redundant pipeline from Nelson Flanders down to the tank, so we have 2 pipelines instead of 1. For when we need to perform maintenance on one or the other of them, gives us an opportunity to keep running. So again, it's in Boulder County's hands right now as far as permitting. We should be going before the Planning Commission and Board of Commissioners here, hopefully in the next 2 to 3 months. The residents around here, no formal comments, but there is the resident that's closest, kind of to the southeast here. Has had some complaints about the project. She hasn't formally responded to Boulder County on them, but she also does have a sweat lodge, an indigenous sweat lodge on her property. So we, as the city, we proactively reached out to the Colorado Commission of Indian Affairs, and they sent us a list of 50 tribal contacts for their historic preservation officers and wrote to them to see if there were any concerns with this site, and nobody did have any concerns. So we've gone through those formal channels. We'll see as we get public feedback in those meetings if anyone does show up, but that's been the main concern from the residents around that property. The city did purchase that property. It's Montgomery Farm. Purchased it back in 2021 for this purpose. It's a historic farm, but we have received approval from the Boulder County Historic Preservation Office to locate the tank here. We obviously looked at several locations for the tank, but this one did make the most sense because it's closest to the existing infrastructure that we have to tie back into. And we didn't want to build it on the existing site because we wanted it further off of the view shed there. For security reasons, and we wanted to be able to keep the existing tank in operation while we were constructing the new one. So we're kind of getting to the point where we want to get to construction on this. This is the big project on the.
When was that existing tank first built?
The exact date, I think it was early 1960s. It was right around then when the existing tank was built. And we've taken it down and repainted it interior and exterior several times over the years, but we've just gotten to the point where inside there's a bunch of columns and it's really hard to get all the areas, all the surfaces that we need to get. So we're just noticing more and more corrosion as the years go by.
I was gonna say, I think it was in the genre when the north plant was put into operation. So in the beginning, Longmont in 1934 had the south plant. Then when in the 50s and 60s when IBM came in and we started really growing, then we had to build the north plant. I think this was part of that overall improvement to our water. Was when this was brought in. Was the plan profile on the new one going to be below grade, or is it still going to be?
So the new one, because of the comments that we have received from Boulder County and the surrounding residents, we actually did end up at more public cost. We were not doing a dome like you see at Price Park Tank that we recently completed. We're going to do more of a flat roof, and it'll only be 10.5 feet above grade. There will be another 15 feet buried, but trying to reduce the amount that's visually able to be seen for numerous reasons, right? That's what we want to do too from a security standpoint, and we want to not take away from the historic view of that farm area too. So figured that was a good balanced approach as far as cost and what it does for the community out there. And again, this tank actually was slated to be replaced before Price Park Tank. But there are other issues with Price Park Tank as far as just how it was built over the years and its age, where it kind of took priority over this. So there's just a lot of those large projects right now on the water side in the city that we're trying to balance and pace, both from a funding and workload perspective for staff. So it just kind of gives you an idea of where we're at with some things.
And what's the completion date of this?
Completion, so this is probably 2.5 years out as far as completion. So if we can, get the permits from Boulder County here, I have a contractor ready to go, and we're already working with a subcontractor on the tank design. Subcontractors design the structure. Our contractor's just gonna have to dig the hole and do all the pipeline work and everything. So it's 3 years out, let's say, as far as when it would go online. And we're removing the old tank afterwards, so that space will be just natural grass and put some trees back in there. We're trying to surround the tank with trees and use some native plantings out there, chokecherry trees, and some grasses that fill in kind of the lower portions of the vertical height, so that the entire thing is hidden well.
Okay. Questions for Joe?
There's one more, but it was more of a, you guys already know. I just wanted to, so Price Park Tank, again, that was a good project. A lot of public input on that one also, and those residents were even closer to the north there than what I'm talking about out at Montgomery Tank. We did just take this offline in October for the 1-year warranty inspection and didn't find anything significant. So just some minor painting and stuff on the inside that we need to do to some of that piping. But I think the response from operations, what this did for us operationally, and also from the public has been positive. We did give some tours out there after completion and to the surrounding residents, just because they were impacted most by the project, and they were very receptive to that tour. And again, operationally, this gives us a lot of flexibility how we run our system. We put a pump station in here which allows us to pump into each one of our zones, which we did not have that flexibility before. We can pump from this lower pressure zone into a higher pressure zone now. So if we were to lose other parts of the system for whatever reason, we have some additional flexibility on how we can feed the entire city. So again, just kind of getting into that mindset of redundancy in the city, because we're not necessarily hitting those capacity type of projects anymore. It's redundancy and keeping taking good care of our existing infrastructure is kind of the mindset that we're starting to head into. with the age of our city. So now you can kick me out, Roger.
Oh, I'm not taking you out. You're still in the hot seat, Joe.
Yeah, I know.
Um,
Never fails.
Yeah, any questions for, there's a lot of stuff that's going on, really.
That's only part of it, so.
Yeah. Questions for Joe?
I have a question. This is for Holly. That washout or the valve, basically the pipe, and you plugged it, but you don't think you need a washout for that anymore?
The standpipe.
The standpipe.
Yeah,
I
I've
was
heard it called a
interested in that
standpipe,
too.
the vertical. The I was not part, that was actually taken off. This is, so I'm gonna do like phase 2 of the project. Phase 1 was to remove that vertical standpipe. There are other places that if we have a surge, that water can be released from the pipe. That was one of the largest ones that I'm familiar with, but there are other places along the pipeline. So I'm going to say it was done before my time, so I'm going to say it was okay. Is that an acceptable answer?
So there are other places for release, but what if there's another flood? I mean, probably not in a long time of that magnitude, but you said there was quite a lot of washout from the flood.
Well, the washout came specifically because, so the vertical pipe basically is water, just too much water. Basically, it came out of the standpipe and it washed away pretty much the hillside there down to rock. So we don't anticipate that there's a lot of storm water coming from that location. Just where it is that the washout occurred because of the standpipe, not because of stormwater, like stormwater on the hillside kind of coming down. But what we want to make sure of is right now is that if there is any stormwater coming down, basically now we have bare pipe, which is water and metal don't get along so well. And so we're trying to kind of stabilize where the pipe is located, provide cover, and prevent additional corrosion. Because corrosion will typically, it will eventually lead to another leak. And
Yeah, so the project really is about stabilizing that area. It really is close to a cliff's edge too, so we're installing a new retaining wall right there, and just making sure that it doesn't wash out again.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. I think I may have seen pictures of this before.
Oh.
You ladies have very soft voices.
Oh, sorry.
You can yell at us, Diane.
Just go
Well,
like this.
We're talking
Just go
about
like
the
this.
washout area on the pipe, on the, what you call it, stove pipe, the vertical pipe.
Okay.
Yeah. And that, it should help preserve the mountain to not have it there. And there are other places where water can be released if needed. That was my question.
Okay. Any other questions for? All right, thanks, Joe. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Oh, my name is Holly.
Holly. And you too, Holly.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay. Nobody has any questions for them? Windy Gap Farming Project, Alex?
Yeah, I just wanted to give a brief, quick update here. The dam reached completion in November in the project. Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
With substantial completion in December. Northern Water produced this virtual tour video that I wanted to show the board. I'm not going to show the whole thing, but if you guys would like to see this, I can get the link sent to all of you. So I just wanted to show you some little parts of this video.
The main feature work for Chimney Hollow is, of course, the main dam. We're standing here about 2/3 of the way up on the main dam. This work started 4 years ago with us stripping the whole foundation, the 80-acre foundation of this project, all the way down to rock. We built a reinforced concrete plinth in that bottom of that foundation, which acts as the base for our asphalt core, as well as the cap for our grouting program. We drilled and grouted 33 miles of grout holes through that plinth, and then ultimately we placed over 20 million tons of rock and asphalt on top of the project to build the main dam. The main dam is a 350-foot tall asphalt core dam. It's the tallest new dam built in all the United States in 25 years, and one of the first asphalt core rockfill dams built in the United States.
The asphalt is about 3 feet wide at the bottom, and then it tapers up to 2 feet at the top. And they place that in 9-inch lifts. Every day they place a lift, and they also brought the rock embankment up at the same time. In total, there's 512 lifts of asphalt to complete the main dam.
On the far south end of the reservoir, we have a saddle dam, which is a 50-foot tall rockfill clay core dam. The style of construction and design is similar to the dams at Carter Lake and at Horsetooth with the clay core and the rockfill shell. The saddle dam also has a grout curtain through the foundation. The saddle dam is a critical feature of Chimney Hollow. It allows us to fill the reservoir about 50 feet taller than the valley, and it increases the capacity of the reservoir by about 33%.
The belt house is a location.
And then last part.
In 2023, about midway through construction, we had a lot of rain that spring, and we had to do an emergency discharge. And at that time, we ended up testing water in the cofferdam at Chimney Hollow and realized that we had elevated levels of uranium. That was really the first time that we started to understand that we had uranium in the rock out at Chimney Hollow. Through a number of studies, we've been able to identify that the location of that uranium is in the granitic rock that was sourced out of our quarry and used to build the main dam and the saddle dam at Chimney Hollow. The uranium content in that granitic rock is really relatively low. It's about 1,000 times less than what you would see in a typical low-grade uranium mine. It just happens to be in a form that's quite soluble, and it doesn't take that much soluble uranium in the rock to cause a water quality issue in the reservoir. The issues that we're seeing with the uranium at Chimney Hollow are at levels and concentrations that we believe can be managed through mitigation. We have identified a number of different potential options that deal with how we operate Chimney Hollow, as well as potential treatment options, water treatment options that will help us to provide safe and reliable water out of Chimney Hollow. We are not going to deliver any water out of Chimney Hollow until a mitigation plan is in place, and we are confident that we can deliver water that meets public health standards.
So, as you can see in this video, while the dam is complete, our biggest restriction right now is, of course, as you've all probably heard, the uranium issue, which city staff are continuing to be involved in those conversations and seeing how we go forward in terms of mitigation.
Are we filling the reservoir yet?
No. There is a small amount of water in there, but that's water that was used in the construction process. Nothing that's been delivered into the dam in terms of our project water.
So until the issue is mitigated, we're just not going to fill them.
Well, so in our conversations, we're discussing, how quickly can we start to deliver water into there? In what terms of mitigation can we, allow that water to be entered, and then what is the process in terms of getting that water out, then meeting or exceeding state regulations? And that's all I had. Any
Questions for Alex?
I'll just mention that from Northern, folks from Northern were at the American Water Resources Association meeting in here in Denver, Broomfield, I guess, in November, and nationwide conference gave quite a good presentation about the issues that they've encountered, and there was a lot of interest from the crowd and everything. I think that a crowd like that is very interested in any kind of big new dam that's being constructed around the country. So, anyway, they did themselves proud, I'd say. So it was a good presentation. It was a hour-long kind of keynote panel kind of thing. So it was really cool.
One of the things that, if the board is interested, we would offer to have at sometime in the future, if you'd like to have a conversation. We've had a long-standing relationship, obviously, with the northern staff. They represent the CBT project and then our parent, Windy Gap ownership. And so if you think it would be of value, we'd be happy to invite them down sometime and just share some of the things that they're doing, because they're a definite partner with Longmont in our provision of water for our customers. So if that's of interest, let us know, and we'd be happy to see if we can come down and talk to you.
Everybody like to see them come down? I wouldn't mind.
And because of their role in in kind of managing all those different projects, I know that sometimes it can be challenging to be the middle person conveying information. It's usually feel like it might be best if you could hear it directly from them. The things that they're working on, the things they see that's important. I mean, they run a very amazing system, and they do a great job at what they do. And so I think that it might also be helpful to have them come and they can talk for anybody that's watching online to hear from them what they're doing. I know we've got some new council members that have came on board, and I think it could be informative for them, whether they were just to watch the video and hear what they had to say, because I think our partnership is important. Scott brought up one that they're kind of protecting our interests even on the Colorado River. They have a pretty broad umbrella, and so yeah, I think it would be good if we had. And I just wanted to make sure that had them come down. If you guys would be good with that, I think we could see. It might even be helpful to have it even in the next couple months, possibly come down and just give a kind of a one-on-one on what they're doing, the challenges they're facing, the things that they're doing and stuff.
Yeah, they got a lot on their plate trying to settle this issue down. So
yeah.
I think the answer is yes.
Yes.
Bring them down.
Yeah. Okay. I'll work on that.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
I would love as much detail as they could provide on the uranium situation.
Yeah. I think of all the different participants in Windy Gap farming, it's been important to have a clearinghouse that's been the voice of what's going on. It's so easy, not so dissimilar even from the board on a smaller scale. If each one of you paraphrased whatever's going on, it may come across different than if there's just one focus. And so that's really been working well. They've got a great website, the one that this video is off of, that has a lot of information. I think we've talked about that CBT system, and I think Kevin or Alex was mentioning that overall the CBT system as a whole is about, when you look at Granby, Horsetooth, and Carter Lake, the major kind of the 800,000 acre feet that those represent, they're about 3/4 full, which is good in terms of when we were talking about our water supply. Just reminding everyone, our CBT is a supplemental water supply. So, it wasn't until the 1950s when Longmont first started taking deliveries of CBT. And it definitely has its place. And I think it's going to have its place this year, because that was the intent, is when there wasn't enough on this side. So I think it might be a chance for them to speak to the CBT system as well, and how they manage that. And we haven't even talked about the power generation, but there's a part of that that's, I think it's good to be a part of. Longmont is a part of that hydroelectric through our ownership in the CBT system, and that's important. So, yeah, I think it would be good if you guys were able to hear from them directly.
Yeah, go ahead and schedule it.
Okay, we'll do.
All right. Let's see, Alex, you've got some water rights information?
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to discuss quickly some kind of behind the scenes work staff has done in the past year in terms of diligence for some conditional water rights. These conditional water rights are yet to be made absolute. So about every 6 years, we take these conditional water rights and bring them through water court to prove diligence towards making them eventually absolute. In 2025, we had 3 rights go through the sandstone exchanges, Tull conditional storage rights, and the Union Reservoir enlargement. For 2026, we're only looking forward at having 1 diligence, which is the Fairgrounds Reservoir. A lot of these are, since they haven't been made absolute, they can be eventually beneficial to the city in terms of future growth and future uses of this water and these related water rights. So I just kind of wanted to inform the board that we continue to shore up the city's water rights and get ready for the future.
Is that an ongoing process?
Yeah, so again, every 60 years, we have to bring these water rights through court to prove diligence towards the water rights. And so I think currently some of these are still waiting to be approved, or I guess certified by the court as having shown diligence, and then we can continue to work towards making them absolute.
Questions for Alec? Okay, thanks, Alex. Of course. Major project listing items. I have one comment, and I'll just ask anybody else to hop in here, but I was looking at water rates and fees updates. Now, that's basically what took place in October. Is that a duplication of what they came here and went through that process with us?
So I think what we did is back in October, we just reminded Water Board of what City Council decided was appropriate in terms of our water rates. So it was an opportunity to remind and inform the public that, hey, that we did this in October, that starting January 1st, there was going to be this new rate increase. And so I think as you might expect, you heard of the different projects that Joe and Holly's working on to maintain our infrastructure. It costs money, and it costs a lot of money, unfortunately. And some projects may not have been done in the last 40 years that we wish would have been, because there's a price tag associated with it. So I think what we'll be doing is, I think, and I might be, I don't know this for a fact, I think there's another increase that's already been predetermined to happen. Chris will correct me if I'm wrong. That's coming up in 2027. I think they were, like, the idea was that it would be staged, so the ratepayers wouldn't be hit with as big of an increase. It was going to be phased over time. But I think that's why we have it scheduled tentatively for October of 2026 to remind everyone, hey, this is what's going to happen in 2027.
So that's the water rate that's being considered. Is there consideration of rate increases beyond that they're talking about, or they're just going to see how things play out?
I don't know. I'm gonna have to. That's prickly. Probably.
So, and Joe can talk about it a little bit more, but strategically we did just a 3-year rate increase this last time that we went to council, so 25, 26, 27. And during that time we've undertaken a master plan for water, which will lay out the prioritization and put together some high-level costs associated with those so that we can put those into our financial model and come back to council in 27 to talk about rates again. I don't know what that's going to look like exactly. We're kind of waiting for the master plan to be done and looking forward, we'll have a better idea. One of the things that goes into that master plan is our demand. And it appears that our ultimate demand is maybe less than what we thought originally. So that helps us through all of our water conservation efforts to postpone or to push out some of the improvements that we may have to do to expand capacity. So I'd like to say things will level out or decrease in cost, but they most likely won't. And as further we move into the future, the more expensive things become. And we have 450 miles of water lines that need to be replaced, and we're doing it at about 2 to 3 miles a year right now. So there's a lot of infrastructure, there's a lot of projects to be done, and the master plan is helping us to prioritize those and figure out where to put our money to get the most bang for our buck.
That's not common knowledge to the general public.
So hopefully we can do a better job.
A lot of money spent on that, but people don't understand what we're doing with infrastructure.
Hopefully we can do a better job communicating that to the public as we move forward. Hope is helping me with a few of those things, and we've also got our communications group that's also working on some of our upcoming communication models that we're putting out there. So.
Yeah, be a good idea.
But very good comment, though, that the general public doesn't always understand that. So.
Yeah. You know, this is kind of a crazy question, but we obviously adjusted rates when we were taking on chimney, that project. Now the money's been spent on the project. Does that have an impact on the rates that we cranked up to build that project, if you understand what I'm saying?
So if I understand the question correctly, we did a bond at the time that we paid for the majority of Chimney Hollow, the city's portion of it, and our rates were adjusted in order to take those payments into account. I think it's a 20-year bond. So rates were adjusted in order to pay off that bond and show that we had sufficient revenue to do that at that time.
Yeah.
So as we take on other bonding issues and as we look at CIP costs and operating costs, we'll take those into account to see if we need to do another adjustment or not.
Okay. Questions about, I just was wondering about the dates and it's very interesting. It's good ideas, have something like that prior to the next year or so. Any other comments from anybody on review major projects, the list?
I presume that the cash in lieu valuation, I didn't see it on the major project status report list, but that's because it's part of the regular cadence.
Yeah, it's definitely, we'll definitely be bringing that quarterly,
Okay.
according to the city code. So absolutely, the plan is to bring that, again, for review and discussion in March.
Okay, because that's the other thing, is we didn't hit it in December. So if we're doing it quarterly, should we have done it at this meeting? Just a question there.
No, I think that's a good point, because that's the same thing that went through my mind.
Okay.
We've got a lot to, I think we got to dice that thing out as far as how we set that cash in the rate. The information you gave us, by the way, was very good.
Cool.
And I'm anxious to get into that, so.
Appreciate that, thanks.
Yeah,
Yep.
give us plenty of time in March, I guess, to
Okay,
get started discussing that.
okay, fair enough.
Any other comments? Okay. Informational items, anything at all?
We didn't have any this time.
And as you can see, Cashin was going to be in March, and I don't know if there's any future water board agendas that we need to talk about, but it sounds like we have stuff coming up that will keep us busy, so.
We'll just remind everybody that, and I know you remember, but the next meeting will be the fourth Monday on the 23rd of February.
May I add an info item? I just wanted to quickly say that we moved our water efficiency
rebates from Efficiency Works, which was under the umbrella of Platte River Power Authority, from Efficiency Works to internal. So I'll be operating the indoor conservation rebate program for probably the next year or so. We're working with Northern Water and the City of Loveland and the City of Fort Collins to do kind of like a Northern Water rebate portal, so that we can regionalize our portal, or regionalize our rebates, and make them more consistent with the region. So we're internal for now. So if anybody asks,
You say that
come to
includes
me.
Fort Collins and Loveland?
Fort
You
Collins.
Partner with them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do they have similar programs?
Yeah, so Fort Collins, Longmont, and Loveland all use Efficiency Works to do our indoor water conservation rebates. And Efficiency Works no longer was able to provide that service for us. So we reached out to Northern Water to see if that was a service they could provide us, along with a couple of other Northern Water customers who want to kind of jump on board, like Broomfield or Westminster, I think, are also interested. So we're working on getting that started. We've got an RFP out for a company to basically create a software and then manage the rebates for us. It's a big project, so it's taking a lot of time, and we were hoping to have it done by this year, but that didn't happen. So we're just processing them internally for now. So they come to me and I review and approve them, and then folks will get bill credits, where in the past they've gotten checks. So that's how we're operating for probably the whole year this year.
Sounds interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thanks. Anything else before we adjourn? All right, meeting's adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.
See you next month.